One of the biggest messes in our classrooms can be our classroom library. Whether you're missing books or you're randomly acquiring new books through book drives or maybe from your school library, the classroom library is one of the most difficult places in our classroom to keep organized. Today, I'm going to share some tips and strategies with you to help keep your classroom library organized throughout the school year. Welcome back, guys. I'm Farah. Here on my channel, I strive to bring you actionable tips and strategies for your K-5 classroom to make your teacher life a little easier. And today's video is no exception. Today, I'm going to be sharing tips and strategies for keeping your classroom library organized so that you can utilize your classroom library in a more organized fashion and get the most out of library time for your students. Before I dive into today's content, I want to ask you a question. Do you have a favorite system that you like using to organize your classroom library? Be sure and leave a comment down below so that you can help other teachers find a system that is going to work for them. The first step to organizing your classroom library is to make sure you label all of your books. Label them with either your name or your room number and label them as soon as they come into your classroom or as quickly as you possibly can. You can also choose to write directly on the book, which can work, especially if the books belong to the school and not to you. If you choose to write directly on the book, I suggest you use maybe the room number or the grade level instead of your name in case you decide to leave. However, if the books belong to you, I definitely recommend that you put your name on them with a label that might be able to be changed out should your name change at any point in the future. Once you have properly labeled your books, it's now time to figure out where your books go. And one way to do this is to organize them by different genres or topics, or maybe you want to organize them by authors. Determining how you're going to organize your library is important, not only for you finding a book when you're looking for one, but also for your students when they are picking books out based on their interests, topics, or author, and knowing where to put the books back when they're finished. If you are organizing your library by genre, it is very important that you clearly label the bins that the books are going to be housed in. For example, you're going to want to clearly label the bin with mystery and also label the book with some sort of label that corresponds to that bin. A very favorite way of mine to do this is to use different clip art for mystery books and place the clip art not only on the bin, but also on the book itself. You could also do this with simple color coding. But the biggest thing here is that you want to make sure that it is clear where that book belongs and what genre it belongs in. Whether it's mystery, sci-fi, folk tales, or fairy tales, your students will know exactly where to return the book to when they're finished. If organizing by author is more your style, then you are probably going to want to go with a simple ABC type method. By creating bins with a picture of the author as well as maybe a color code if you have younger students, and then placing those authors in alphabetical order within your library, it's going to help your students be able to find the author that they're searching for as well as know where to put the book back when they are finished reading it. Now, this is great and a great way for you to organize your classroom library if you are a teacher who often does author of the month or units of the month with regard to specific authors, because it's very simple for you to simply go grab that author's bin and pull the books that are needed for that particular month and showcase. Another simple way that you can organize your classroom library, especially if you are a series lover like I am with older students and students who love to read books in a series, is you can organize your library by those series. My older students loved having series of books in the classroom library, and I had bins that would simply organize those books by series instead of just by author. That way they could quickly find the next book when they were ready to read it. Now, one of the most popular ways to organize your classroom library, especially in a K first or second grade classroom, is by reading level. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with organizing your classroom classroom library by reading level, especially when you're teaching these younger students who are going to be needing to find books on their reading level. Now, when I did this, I would typically color code the reading levels so that students, especially my younger students, were able to just go look for a specific color. But as they got up into a grade level where there were so many different levels at that particular grade level, I really had to hone in on not only just a color, but also using that letter or that number for the grade level. And it is very important, if you're going to organize by grade level, that not only have you labeled the bins or the area on the classroom shelves that the books are going to go, but that you've also clearly labeled the book so that students know when they pick a book, they are getting one at their reading level. Now, next up on my tips and strategies for organizing your classroom library is, where do they go? There are so many different options when it comes to housing the books in your classroom library. Some teachers like to use simple display cases where they are only putting out certain books. Other teachers like to have their entire classroom library available for students at any given time. I actually was a fan of having all of my books available to my students at any given time, because it allowed my students to have some choice when going into the classroom library. I still had a separate display case where maybe our author of the month was displayed, or a unit of study. If we were reading books and studying about spiders that week, then I would pull all my spider books to display them in a special place. But the classroom library had all of my books available for students throughout the year. There are several options that you have when it comes to housing your classroom library. Now, I have done this where I just had books on a shelf and I used a simple paint stick to divide the different sections on the shelf. And then throughout time, when I was able to, I purchased bins that I could then put my books into the bins. My favorite type of bins are definitely plastic bins, because they are easy to label. And if I need to change the labels out, they're typically easy to get the labels off. But you could do fabric bins as well. Now, you may be thinking, man, it is going to be expensive to get all the things that I need for my classroom library. And while it can be expensive in the beginning to get the bins that you need, again, I started off with paint sticks, just dividing the different sections of my classroom library shelves. However, I did run a Donors Choose project in order to get the bins I needed for my classroom library so that I could have the plastic bins in the different colors that I needed. I actually wrote a blog post on how to run a successful Donors Choose project. I'll link it up in the cards and in the description down below. Organizing your classroom library does not have to be a hard task, and it is definitely something that you should have in place so that your school year goes a lot simpler and a lot smoother with regard to your library and checking in and out books. So one of the things that I love to do with students checking in and out books is I actually had a sign out sheet where students would write the book that they were taking, and they would just simply put their classroom number or their student number or their name next to the book they were taking or checking out. It was a very simple system. And then you could move up to using an app on your phone where students are actually scanning the books. I used a simple app from Scholastic, I believe it was, and I'll leave a link in the description below to the app that I used. But it actually became more complicated than just having a clipboard with a sign out place for them to sign the books out. That was so much simpler. And once my students knew how to do it, even my kindergarten students could write the name of the book or some semblance of the name of the book, because they're just copying it off the cover, and then they could write their name next to the book that they were taking. Very simple, very easy, and very easy to keep up with. Now, are you ready to start organizing your classroom library? I did write a blog post to go along with this video. I will link it in the cards and in the description down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you get notified when we go live or upload a new video. And if you're looking for additional tips and strategies for your classroom, check out the videos that you see on your screen. Until next time, guys, keep being educational rock stars.